Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome along to this Champions League Matchday -1 press conference. We're alongside head coach Stefano Pioli and Fikayo Tomori. We'll begin with Milan TV. First question. Thank you, Laura. I've got a question for the head coach and one for Fik. Gaffer, tomorrow it's a different stadium. It's a Champions League night with the Rossoneri fans. Another match, another competition. Have we switched over? Yes, we need to switch to this. It's not been easy. We had a great deal of expectation surrounding the derby. There was a lot of positivity and confidence, and it went how it went, badly. So it was a huge disappointment. But we have the Champions League. Thankfully, if you will, because it's the only way that we can actually try and switch our focus to this match. We've done that from today with a great deal of focus and concentration. We know just what a tough group it is, and we know how important it would be to start this Champions League group as best we can. Right. Good afternoon, Stefano. Oh, sorry, there was a question for Tomori. So a question very quickly to Fik. How disappointed were you to not be with your teammates on Saturday? And to what extent will you give absolutely everything with your teammates tomorrow against Newcastle United, Fik? Of course, I was disappointed because I couldn't help out my teammates on the pitch. Watching the game on TV is a lot more difficult, it's a lot tougher, because you can't help the team out. But I hope I'll be back out there tomorrow night. That way I can help the team. We'll try to win again and make the best possible start in the group stage. Rocky. Good afternoon, Stefano. How nice was it to have Zlatan Ibrahimovic alongside you today, a player who you've always said is so important in terms of his charisma, the way he motivates people. Zlatan was due to come before the derby on Friday, but he had an unforeseen commitment, so he came today. We know just what an important figure Zlatan is, how much he cares about the club, how important he was for the progress that we've made. I was a very fortunate head coach to get to know him, to coach him, so he's always welcome here, and his presence is always positive. It was a pleasure for me to see him, the players too, and indeed the senior management, so it was all positive. Was it a pleasure? Would it be a pleasure as well to see him even more often? No, we now see each other for dinner. I'm no longer his head coach. We're friends, if you will, so we'll see each other for dinner. Can we get the mic over here, please? Good afternoon. Is this the hardest spell for you since you've been Milan head coach? I've been through some very happy moments at Milan and some difficult times as well. These lack of successes in the derby do hit me hard, and if I could, I'd give absolutely everything in my power to try and change these results, but unfortunately that's the way they've gone. I know that I'm coaching a top team, a very together squad, and that the team has the ability to bounce back and come through what was such a taxing derby. I do owe the fans one. I owe them something because last season, when we really played badly, they always got behind us, and I've always thanked the fan base for that. And I owe them something because now I've become the Milan head coach that's lost the most number of derbies in this calendar year. But we'll give everything in our power to make sure that this season can still be a very positive campaign. Sky UK.
Hi, I wonder if I could ask both of you, both Coach and also Fikayo, how you feel about Sandro Tonali coming back to the club and how that is going to feel emotionally for you both. I wonder if you would be able to answer in English for us.
Yeah, obviously, to see Sandro again is going to be nice. No, we played a lot of games together. Obviously, won a Scudetto together, so. yeah, it's going to be nice to see him again, especially so soon. But I think us as a team and him personally, we're professionals, and once we get on the pitch tomorrow, I guess that friendship or that companionship is put to the side, and both of us are going to try and win the game. And after the game we can talk again, but we're just focused on ourselves, focused on the game, focused on trying to win, and then after the game we can talk again.
Thank you. And can I ask the same question of the coach, please?
I think it will be very emotional to come up against Sandro Tonali. I'll give him a big hug. Sandro was an important player. During our time together, we won trophies together. It will be very emotional for him to come back to San Siro, and we wish him all the best, albeit from match day 2 onwards.
Arthur Quesada, TNT Sports. Fikayo, many big names are not in the Champions League anymore. I mean, Cristiano, Messi, also Neymar. But we are seeing other names growing. I'm asking about Rafael Leao. Do you think that he can replace some kind of this quality that left Champions League recently? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I think, especially since I've arrived, he's come on leaps and bounds. He's improved a lot, and he's so important for our team. And we saw in the Champions League last year how important he was for us. And yeah, I think the thing about Rafa is he still has he still has so much room to improve and to get better. So I think this season, why not? I don't see any reason why he can't do it. He's got all the qualities to do so. And like I said, he helps the team a lot, and hopefully tomorrow again he can do the same and have a good season with us in the Champions League.
Sport Italia, okay.
Good afternoon, Stefano. In the pre-match build-up to the derby, you said that some of the new players are not necessarily familiar with what the club's all about. Maybe they'll get to grips with it when they experience the derby. In the last half an hour when you came apart, you'll come up against Tonali today. Ibrahimovic was here. Perhaps did you underestimate the time that the new players actually need to realise that they're at Milan and it requires a certain level of concentration? No, absolutely not. I think it's the opposite. I think actually those of us that experienced previous derbies actually let the emotions get the better of us because of previous results. We fell behind and it became harder as a result. The new faces approach the derby with, when I talk about relaxation, I'm not talking about necessarily switching off and not being focused. I'm talking about being cool and being able to give absolutely everything. It became a lot harder after we fell 3-1 behind. The game became tougher, but there's not a new Milan and an old Milan side. There's a Milan side that simply wasn't able to showcase its best performance levels. Gazzetta dello Sport. Good afternoon. Could you tell us what Ibrahimovic said to you or to the players? I saw that you were speaking to him as well. It's a difficult day, and he obviously has shaken up things in the past. Was he useful? It's not a difficult day. It's an important match day -1. I'm sure he absolutely spoke to Fik. I think he spoke to them one by one. He didn't make a big speech to the group as a whole, but he spoke to me and he asked me a lot of things because we did speak to one another over the course of the summer, but he was never involved in our training sessions, so he actually asked some information about new players and how things are going, but nothing special, as opposed to things that are amongst us and stay amongst us. Good afternoon. At the start of every season, you always try and improve on the previous campaign. Tomorrow you start a new Champions League campaign. You've said it will be a tough group. Last season you had a great result, semi-finals. What is the aim in terms of improving in this competition? That's a good question. Of course, improving would mean going all the way in this competition, but in this tournament, I think we need to try and focus one step at a time. The first goal is to try and make it through the group stage. It's a tough group. It's very balanced, I believe, very even. Given PSG's transfer campaign towards the end of the market, they might be favourites, but there are a number of good sides that can either have opportunities or might take points off one another. So it's a tough group. But the experience that we've acquired allows us to go into this group stage with a lot of self-confidence, with strength, in the knowledge that we have the ability to make it through, and in the knowledge that tomorrow night's game could already be a very important fixture.
Stefano,
what sort of team do you think Newcastle United are like? Are they comparable to an Italian team? And I wanted to ask the same question to Fikayo. I think Newcastle are a typically English side in terms of their physicality, their intensity, their aggressiveness, and they have a lot of quality players as well. We shouldn't forget Newcastle's economic power. They've been built to compete at the top end of the Premier League, and so therefore they will be competitive in the Champions League as well. As for the team, I think the players are fit and firing. They've recovered well. Fix coming back in, and then we'll see. Because it's important to start with the right personnel in terms of the match that we want to play, but also having the right substitutes in order to possibly improve the team during the game itself. Fick? Yes, Newcastle are a very good team. They've got a lot of pace up front and they're physical at the back. They play the ball high up the pitch a great deal in behind, so we need to be ready for the intensity and high tempo approach that they bring. Yes, we know the sort of game to expect, and we need to showcase our quality with and without the ball and try and win as ever. Tele Lombardia. Good afternoon, Stefano. I imagine that you were really bothered about all of the drama that was created around your post-match comments. Would you like to take those back? And Fikayo, is it nice to speak again to Ibrahimovic? No, I don't want to take back what I've already said. As I said earlier on, my particular rating was subpar with regards to the derby. You have no idea how much this really bothers me. How many million fans do Milan have? If I could go to each of them individually and try and put this point across, I'd do so, but I don't think it's needed. In the relationship, when it's a loving relationship, it's not necessarily a case of what you say, it's more about the way you conduct yourself. It was nice to see Ibra again today, because he's a great man, and he's someone who gives us a lot of belief. He's an important voice in the dressing room, and we all respect him. It's always nice to see him again. Question for the head coach. Hi, Stefano. I wanted to analyse a specific detail. When Reijnders played well, Milan took charge of proceedings. Bologna, Torino, above all Roma. Reijnders' performance levels dropped off in the derby. Do you not think his position is crucial in the team? No. I do think he's a good player, yes. But if all of our play comes down to the performance of one individual player, that means that we'd be very easy to counteract for the opposition. So he is a very good player, but I don't think he's the crucial player. Thank you very much, everyone. All the best.
Okay,
one final question.
Prego.
Stefano, you are trying to innovate your Milan side. You've been very courageous on that score. Now, after this defeat, there could be a danger, namely that the head coach is beset by doubts, and that might then create confusion, and you might be tempted to revert to what you were doing before, and so on and so forth. In that regard, how are you experiencing this particular attempt of yours to try and motivate your players differently? Could that be a danger? No, there's not that danger, in the sense that I'm always very attentive to my players' attitudes and reactions and the way they behave. I know very well when to come up with something that the team wants to do and is able to take on board, and I'm also well aware of when the opposite is true. So as long as I see these situations, then I will press ahead with what our principles of play are. They've never changed. I might tweak some positions, but I think that's useful above all because, as I said, we're coming up against different times week in, week out. So tomorrow night we will have the same footballing principles, the same ideas, albeit with a different shape, because we always find something to try and have an edge as opposed to a disadvantage. Of course, when it comes off, we have huge advantages. When it doesn't come off, of course, it's a slight disadvantage, but that's part and parcel of the team selection and the game plan that you come up and game in, game out. Thank you very much, everyone. All the best.